Sauron, come and join us for a game of Dungeons and Dragons. You can be the level 5 cleric.
So we've all decided to head south and enter this field here.
Right, you all walk into a field and you're immediately ambushed by an ice troll. An old beardy here is instantly killed. I'm always the first to die. Why is it always an ice troll? It's an absolute joke, this game. I don't even know why I bother playing.
An ice troll?
Yep.
In a field?
Yep.
Don't they live in ice caves?
Not this one. Now what are you going to do?
I will attack the ice troll with my fireball spell.
Yeah, you've not got the mana for that. You used it all up conjuring food. The ice troll quickly smashes you with a nearby tree, and you're dead. Right, Sauron, what are you going to do?
What does it matter? Whatever I do, I'll die immediately.
I wouldn't be surprised. Ice trolls are notoriously dangerous.
This Dungeons and Dragon Club sucks.
If you don't like it, don't play.
Have it your way. Find another cleric.
It's another day, another round of copium, because the absolute failure of Lord of the Rings of Power, actually reveals something pretty embarrassing for the Hollywood pundits and the purveyors of the woke ideology and the strong independent women who don't need no man. It's also interesting when you see how strong women are written by men versus how strong women are written by women. It's generally strong. I mean, just like She-Hulk, right? Galadriel, okay? You can be a strong independent female in a movie, but you don't have to be a man. And that's what they end up doing to a lot of these female characters. And the copium is absolutely plentiful in the far left-leaning media. And we're going to get all that after a super quick word from this video's sponsor, Private Internet Access. Huge shout out to this video's sponsor, Private Internet Access. Now, you know Private Internet Access has been with the channel for a very long time, but it's also the world's most transparent VPN provider. With over 30 million downloads, they never record or store data, and their no logs policy has been proven multiple times in court. Private Internet Access hides your IP address and encrypts your internet connection, and Private Internet Access also comes with loads of entertainment benefits. The VPN works with all major streaming services, so you can access more content than ever before anywhere in the world. Plus, it's one of the few VPNs that support P2P file sharing, and if you don't already have a VPN, signing up for Private Internet Access is risk-free. There's a 30-day money-back guarantee with 24/7 customer support available. Private Internet Access has world-class next-gen server infrastructure covering 83 countries, each and every United States state as well. And you can protect up to 10 devices at a time with Private Internet Access. Most other VPN support fewer connections, so you get a lot more bang for your buck with Private Internet Access. And since their VPN is 100% open source and their code is public, anyone can take a look under the hood. And today, I have a special offer for you in the description below and in the pinned comment. Make sure you pick up Private Internet Access today using my link and save huge. It's 2022. If you don't have a VPN yet, make sure you get Private Internet Access. It's a massive discount just for my viewers. It's the one I use. It's the one I endorse. MovieWeb.com comes out with this 1 hour ago. No, the Rings of Power is not ruining Lord of the Rings. The Rings of Power have been the center of a lot of love and hate. Just hate. Despite some claims, Amazon series is not ruining The Lord of the Rings. Now look, I've said this before and I will say this again. If you like the show, you like the show. That doesn't make you dumb or a loser. You just like the show. That's okay. Also, you know, contrary to what some of my peers say, I don't believe the show is like absolute, total, irredeemable garbage. It's bad. I think that's undeniable. But if Amazon were to stick it out and really make I believe, honestly, I believe in my heart of hearts that Amazon could fix this if they fired all the writers and they changed direction completely in season 2. They literally could do that. And it's something that you might actually see happen because you have so much money in a sunk cost, right? Sunk cost is like money you've already spent. You kind of write it off in your mind. You can't get it back. There's a fallacy. What is that fallacy? I forget it. Where like you think you need to people end up staying around too long because they have this. It's like sunk cost fallacy, I think is what it's called. And then so Amazon spends $250 million just for the rights. Then $60 million per episode. I don't know where. They don't have any extras. But nonetheless, they're spending this kind of money. At the end of season 1, let's say everyone basically hates it. It's still Lord of the Rings. And if they came out and said, we cleaned house in the writer's room, we've heard you, we've heard the feedback, we're going to do what we need to do to earn the trust of the Tolkien fandom again, they would come back. People would come back. I am absolutely certain of it. And then you could look at the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th season of Rings of Power and laugh about that first season. You could tell people, yeah, it's worth watching, just skip the first season. They could redeem it. This article writes, now that Rings of Power has arrived and several episodes released to the world, there's infinitely different reasons, different reactions, to the show. Some people have praised the show's visual style and character work, calling the series a worthy successor to Jackson's Lord of the Rings films. Literally nobody said that. Some others haven't been so keen on the series, saying that the plot is too slow and that the characters aren't well written or performed. Both are valid takes. All art is inherently subjective. Oh, that's what we're going to go with? I don't think that there's a lot of people that would like, oh, Lord of the Rings were objectively bad. I don't believe that you could make a case, a reasonable case, that Lord of the Rings, the Peter Jackson trilogy, was objectively bad. So no, it isn't all like up to subjective opinion. There's no arguing that the material Tolkien wrote was incredible stuff, whether it be series of The Hobbit, The Lord of the Rings, or other books such as The Silmarillion, The Children of Hurin, or any other of the stories of Middle-earth and Arda, detailed in The Lord of the Rings appendices, Unfinished Tales, and other various texts of Tolkien's Legendarium. The epic stories of Tolkien's writing are some of the most sweeping, meticulous, and truly defining works of the fantasy genre. That's the problem, though, isn't it? You could make the argument that Tolkien has done all the hard work for you. The problem is pure hubris. The writer is thinking, well, we know better than Tolkien, even though Tolkien's laid it out in chapter and verse for them. How to write these characters, what the characters are supposed to look like, how the characters are supposed to act. But Amazon said, we know better. I went to college at an Ivy League school. I got a degree in gender studies. I'm a writer on Rings of Power. They say it's still early. The show has already been greenlit for a second season. Well, duh. You don't spend $250 million just on the rights and say, oh, we'll see what happens. You already commit. You're pot committed, to use a poker term. And the showrunners J.D. Payne and Patrick McKay have stated that there are 5 seasons outlined for the overall story. The Rings of Power is still in its earliest of stages. It's halfway through its debut season. At this point, it shouldn't be expected to deliver the same climatic excitement that is typically reserved for a finale. What? How did Game of Thrones do that every single week? Like, do you remember what it was like interacting with humans after the Red Wedding? Do you remember what it was like after every time like a beloved character got offed and everybody talked about it? Every episode of the Game of Thrones series, especially between season 1 and like 3, were like finales. It's unreasonable to expect the show to come out of the gates and immediately have the same effort and grandiosity that was built over the course of Jackson's 3 films. Are you joking? We've got over 6 hours of content from the Rings of Power. We are at almost the entire length of the trilogy, 2/3 of the trilogy. In fact, you could say we're through 2 of the movies. We're through Fellowship and we're through the two Towers. Think about everything that happened. The battles. the storylines, all completed in 4.5 hours. Call it 5, maybe 6 if you have the director's cuts, okay? In the same amount of time. Now, I'm not saying that the Rings of Power has to be the trilogy. But all it does is make me want to watch the trilogy. Then you have whose sword fights better, House of the Dragons or Rings of Power? They had, this wry smile, like, meh, I'm so good at the sword, even though you've never seen me wield one before, but trust me, I'm a whammon. And you see this, we need to talk about the heartless Harfoots of Rings of Power. They are heartless. They're weird. It's like they want them to be cute, and they want you to member berry the hobbits, but the Harfoots kind of suck. You see, in the faithfulness is no doubt part of the why the depiction of the Harfoot clan and Amazon's Rings of Power often seems so strange and off-putting. Granted, these are not the comfortable hobbits we've previously seen growing fat, content, and sedate within the confines of the well-protected Shire. The lives of the Harfoots are considerably more perilous. They've grown up with a culture that emphasizes the hard choices that must often be made in the name of survival. But even then, the show's depiction of the Harfoot life often seems needlessly, even comically heartless and cruel. On a show that has often done visual justice to its unprecedented billion-dollar budget 5 episodes in, it's one of those nagging issues of characterization that makes Rings of Power such an odd roller coaster of satisfaction, confusion, and disappointment. Put simply, the Harfoots are uniquely awful to one another, whether that's on a personal level or an institutional one. The screenwriters, meanwhile, have made a feeble attempt to portray the heartlessness of the clan as a policy of survival, but the show hasn't done nearly enough to convey why a single adult's sprained ankle is treated as an insurmountable obstacle that the entire society cannot find a way to deal with. Instead, they leave them behind, right? Instead, the Harfoots have come off like a den of Ayn Randian zealots preaching ethical egoism as they try to sign the death warrant of an entire family, you young children in tow, rather than band together as one expects of, protagonists. It's a bizarre choice, one that rings especially false in comparison with Hobbit characters we know so well. Is Rings of Power moving too fast or too slowly? What? Who on earth thinks it's moving fast? Rings of Power. Why does Galadriel never show her sword skills in Lord of the Ring? Because she didn't need to, because she's a powerful sorceress. And elves aren't really, archery's their thing. There was several epic battle scenes that were removed from the final cuts of Peter Jackson's films. Such scenes included an amazing fight showing Arwen defending the glittering caves from a horde of orcs, and Arwen joining a fray at Helm's Deep along with Aragorn and Legolas. One of the biggest criticisms of the movie adaptations is that the portrayal of women lack valor, bravery, and prowess. What? Remember the I am no man scene? Pretty boss. Remember when it was Galadriel, right? Summoned the water that came down as stallions and protected the hobbits. I need to rewatch that trilogy. I just watched Rings of Power and now I want to quit. Tom's Guide. I have finished Rings of Power episode 5 and I am far different place than I was when I wrote my Rings of Power review. Amazon sent the press the first 2 episodes, and even though I wasn't a Lord of the Rings super fan, I found it interesting, was excited to watch the Prime Video series. Today, after watching the next 3 episodes, I'm itching to break glass and go with Galadriel's Elven squad far, far away from the series. Yes, while Galadriel made the right call to keep the fight going, I wish I could bail on the story. But I'm going to be watching next week's episode and those thereafter. No, I'm not hate watching it, if such a thing exists. I'm not suffering to pull out the differences from Tolkien's work Divine Online. I'm sojourning on, fighting a war against not watching. Really? Bro. I watch it so I can create content around it and I can inform people and entertain. Don't put yourself through it. Gladriel just sucks. The show sucks. They picked the wrong protagonist, and their writing is garbage. They could fix it, though. I really think they could. I hope you enjoyed this video. I look forward to reading your comments in the comment section down below. Don't forget to check out Private Internet Access. If you don't have VPN or you're looking to switch, they have a massive discount available to my viewers. I hope you enjoyed this video, and we'll talk to you again real soon.